Hey everybody. Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Mr. Joynt live show. Thank you for joining us on this Halloween weekend, and we appreciate you being here with us. Mr. Joynt Live is here every Friday night at 8 p.m., and we are on episode 10 of Conspiracies and Cold Beverages with Mr. Joynt. And tonight we're discussing corporate media and big tech. We understand that probably a lot of people tonight are doing their Halloween costume parties and stuff like that, and that is awesome. That's great. Nobody really got a chance last year. But if you're homebodies like Mr. Joynt and I, we appreciate you being here with us. Now, Mr. Joynt is not on any type of social media platform. He is a U.S. history teacher. He has a master's degree in U.S. history, and we are just constant believers in that history repeats itself, and that's kind of what we discuss here on the show. And so if you're watching live right now on Facebook, you can share the show with your friends. And if you share the show, or if you want to chat live with Mr. Joynt while we're doing this broadcast, you can. And the way you do that is I always leave a link in the description of the show, and it's for YouTube. And you can switch over to YouTube and you can chat live with Mr. Joynt. And while you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and that way you can converse freely with Mr. Joynt. You get notifications. And because we asked to subscribe and hit the like button, it just kind of raises the viewership of the show. Okay, so we were the least watched show on YouTube. Now we are the second least watched show on YouTube, and that's great. We're moving up a little bit. But I watched the other show, and it's kind of like, winning a game of Pictionary with Stevie Wonder. But whatever, we'll take the win. And we are a self-supporting show. So if you want to donate to the show, you can do so by clicking the link on Cash App. It has a promo code in it. You get a free $5. Now, if you could use the $5, great, use it for whatever you want. But if you don't need it, you can donate it to Mr. Joynt and buy him a cold beverage. Okay, and how you do that is you use the Cash App sign, $RJoynt, and you can donate however much you want and buy Mr. Joynt a cold beverage. And we do have Mr. Joynt Live t-shirts. Now, we only have a few left, size large and extra large, okay? But here they are. It's the last few of them, and no matter how much you donate, you get a free one. So if you donate $5, you get a free one. If you donate $10, you get a free one. It doesn't matter how much you donate, you get a free t-shirt. And we do have some new t-shirts coming out soon. They aren't here yet, supply chain issues or whatever. That's what they say. But we do have some new t-shirts coming out, new graphics, new little sayings and stuff. It's pretty funny. It all goes along with the show. So if you would also like to be a guest on Mr. Joynt Live, you can. And the way you do that is you can contact me through Facebook Messenger. And if we're friends already, it's no big deal. You just contact me. We'll set it up. But if not, you could just email me at robbiejoynt@hotmail.com, and we can go from there. We've had some guests lined up. Usually it's some last-minute cancellations and stuff. We understand it's Friday night and people are busy. And before we get started, before the worst part of the show is over, Living Color World on eBay is one of our main sponsors. Now, the last show, I kind of showed you how to navigate to the eBay page, but we made it a little bit easier. So if you go on the description of the show, which is right below the screen here, there is a link. We've got the URL page, the website page up and running. So if you just click on that, you can go straight to the store. If it doesn't work, you can just copy and paste that in your search engine, and it'll take you straight to the eBay store. Now, do yourself a favor this winter, okay? During this supply chain crisis, it's not going to get any better. So don't wait till the last minute. Men, if you want to get some holiday nookie this year, don't wait till the last minute. You may be waiting until late December, early January to get your Christmas present, and you're going to have a cold winter. So do yourself a favor, solidify a nice warm winter, and get yourself some stuff now. So go to Living Color World on eBay. And that's pretty much it. The worst part of the show's over. Now I'd like to introduce the star of the show, Mr. Joynt. Hey, buddy.
Star, hello. I don't know. Hello, yes, I'm wearing the shirt again.
Yeah,
Extra
yeah.
large, thank
Did
you.
you wash it?
No. And
Okay. I didn't wash
that's
mine either.
that's why my wife's not in the picture. No, I'm just kidding. Um, but anyway, she'll be here shortly, maybe. She always looks in to make sure I'm still alive, so that's
Well,
good.
and she brings you a cold beverage.
Yeah, she does. She's great. Yeah, I wouldn't be where I am without her, but here I am. So anyway, we had a nice
All right.
dinner and
Well,
got back. Here we are.
good. You went to I remember Solito Lindo's.
Yeah, Salito Lindo. I think there's Trace, Uno, Dos, Trace, and I think this is Uno because Dos was 6th Street. I guess we're going to give them a shout out. They're a great Mexican restaurant down here in South Florida. And then I think Trio or Uno, Dos, Trace. Trace was on Federal Highway. They might have closed and become an Irish pub. I'm not sure. But there's Uno and Dos is still around. Good food. I got picadillo, my favorite Cuban dish of all time.
I thought it was
Another.
Brazilian.
No, it's Cuban. Picadillo is Spanish, definitely Spanish, and they make it different ways. It's just ground beef,
With
and it's
raisins and olives and
raisins
onions
and
and
olives,
garlic.
and everybody makes it different. And I had it with rice and black beans, and way too much information, but it's really good because I've been doing the keto diet, and that kind of took me off it right there. That and the plantains and everything else. But yeah, really good.
Rice and
And
beans and all that.
we had a
Sounds good.
couple cold beverages. We're back,
All
and I'm
right.
looking forward to the discussion on big tech and corporate media. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, it's I did a little, a lot of research this week about it, and I didn't do much, I've never really studied it in depth like I did, for the show, and it,
Hmm.
everything we always talk about always kinds of it brings up just things that I never really knew about, and it's kind of scary if you think about it, but anyways, we could dig right into the meat of the bone. We got a few viewers joining in.
Yes.
Real
Yeah.
quick.
Living World
Um,
is just logged in. Living
yeah,
World,
yeah, yeah. We
the
got some
owner.
chats going.
Yes. And I will
So
one
that's
day.
good.
One day I will bring in the sociogram that the master commander of Living World created, and
Yeah.
I will show it. I will show it to everybody, and I need to remember to
Well,
do
we
that. I
could do a
haven't.
whole episode on
Yeah,
that kind of.
yeah, that was an amazing. Still have it. Still use it. And that's been
So
how many years ago? Almost 30 years. Almost 30 years. Go
we're
ahead.
getting some other chats in here. Pelosi's pill bottle. Thank you. Pelosi's pill bottle. Thank you. Girth Brooks. Thank you. Thank you. These are some donations coming in.
Girth.
Girth Brooks. Thank you. So, anyways, let's get started. Got it. We'll
Wow.
go over. There's some more people joining
Yeah.
in here, so let's just
Okay.
kind of
Good.
go over. Let's get
Yes.
started, and we will start the show. So tonight is big tech or corporate media and big tech, and people kind of were like, "Well, what's corporate media and all that stuff?" Um, so let's just kind of go over the history. You know how you and I like to do a baseline.
Sure.
Um, of what everything, how everything kind of started and stuff like that. Um, so written word, right? Going
Yep.
along a long time. Started off with
Sure.
cave paintings and stuff like that, and ancient cultures would
Yep.
basically put stones in the ground to kind of or get a calendar of seasons and stuff like that. What do you got there?
Mm.
Is that your
Which
corporate
one?
media, or you just hiding a
No,
drink?
that was my taxes, but that's okay. Sorry.
Yeah, they're coming after you,
Yeah,
buddy.
they are.
Six
They
hundred
are.
dollars.
Yeah.
Well,
That
don't have $600 in your bank
Yes,
account.
boy. Yeah, man.
What a
Uh,
time to be alive.
yeah, it is. It's crazy. So
But
go ahead.
anyways, so when we talk about media, right, we think of control, right? They're trying
Right.
to kind of control information, right? And so you have to kind of start with religion. That's when media was first like mass produced, right? So it was
Hmm.
monks writing Bibles, writing
Hmm.
religious texts. Okay. And a lot of people didn't read back then. So they would, they would write the text and then they would give it to all the churches, and then the churches would tell everybody what to believe, right?
Right.
So that's kind of how it started. It was just monks writing, religious texts. And then it kind of got, it evolved. We got to skip over a lot of time periods. Okay. We
Yeah.
can't go over each time period. But the main time period was when the printing press started. And that was kind of, this was a wooden one back from 1520. Okay.
Can I
So,
interrupt
yeah,
real
go
quick?
ahead.
Since Reformation Day is coming up Sunday, that's when Martin Luther, understanding all of which you just said, for mostly central Germany at that time, nailed his arguments against the then Catholic Church, the 95 Theses, to the Wittenberg church door, because that was kind of like a bulletin board per se. That's where anybody that could read of the populace of Wittenberg, Germany, went, looked mainly in the town square, and the church was in the town square, and that's where Martin Luther nailed his printed 95 arguments against the Catholic Church's view of salvation by works and his view of salvation by faith. So
Yeah.
that
So
was,
kind of like the first
yes,
version of social media.
yeah, it was right there on the church door, which will be celebrated the 504th anniversary from 1517, and All Saints Day was the next. Well, that was, yeah, that was Reformation Day is the 31st. All Saints Day is November 1st. Go ahead, but that's I just because this is right this weekend, and that's
Yeah.
Halloween and
Well,
All Hallows Eve. Yep,
All Hallows Eve. Yeah. Yeah.
yep. There you go. But yeah, Gutenberg looks like you have Gutenberg's press here. That's
Yeah. Yeah.
yep.
That's exactly what it is.
Okay.
1520.
So and
Go
Martin Luther
ahead.
made
Talk a little bit about
yeah,
that.
Martin Luther
Gutenberg
made the
press.
Bible available to Germans. He translated it. He had to be absconded away by uh, political figures in Germany to hide out in a castle and translate the Latin Vulgate version of the Bible, especially the New Testament, into German, so that the German people could read. The ones that could read, and that was almost a flood of people wanting to learn how to read, peasants and
Yeah, and that's
etc.
kind of how people started
Yes,
learning how to read was the Bibles.
yeah, it
And
was.
back then in the church, the elite got to sit up front, right?
Yep,
And then all the poor people had this, standing room
yep,
only, and that was their only source of education, really. And that's kind
that
of
was
where we
it.
get Sunday school and all that.
Yep,
Is where it was actual school. They were teaching people how to read,
yep,
and so
very good.
the elites were educated, right? And the
Yes.
poor people were not, right?
Hmm.
And so that's kind of I just kind of want to give a little baseline about what is media, right? What
Hmm.
is information,
Hmm.
And before we kind of go through, before we get, too far ahead, uh, so in Europe, right, another big thing was the town square, right?
Yes.
So even in Europe and France and all that, people couldn't read. And so the peasants would have to get all their information from like a town square. And it was basically somebody reading the news
Yes.
to them. And then when you started getting into newsprint, okay, and this is around the late 1700s, early
Hmm.
1800s in Europe and in America, you had that kind of that kid at the square, right? Extra, 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 read all about it, that kind of kid, right? And
Hmm.
he would kind of sell newspapers, but it was more of mostly people would just kind of gather in the town square. That was the only place to get their
Hmm.
news source was these little areas. Okay. Now, once people started reading, once there was, education systems set up and schooling systems set up, people started to be able to read, and then they could kind of gain knowledge from that. And what happened is in the early days, if if you were a news publication, or you were a printing press, you pretty much had free reign over information. And so what you could do is if you wanted to talk bad about a political figure or the king or the aristocrats, right,
Right.
you could slander them in these prints, these newsletters or these papers that they would divvy out in the town square. And so what the aristocrats and the elites started doing was is they would send their servants into town, and they would buy up all the newsprints, right? Early in the morning,
Hmm.
they'd go out and they'd buy up all the newsprints. And then they realized, hey, we could just buy the newsprint, right? And
Mm-hmm.
own it. And then we can print whatever we want. And so that's kind of, like I said, a baseline. History repeats itself. When people buy this stuff, it still kind of exists to this
Mm-hmm.
day, and we'll get into that in a minute. And this graph just kind of shows, like I said, 1825 newspaper was the sole source of information. And then it wasn't until kind of technology caught up. You had the telegraph, the telephone. Early 1900s, you had motion pictures. Then the radio came out, the television came out. Then you had cable TV, right? And then you
Mm-hmm.
had the internet. So that's kind of the evolution
Yeah.
of American media, because now we
Mm-hmm.
obviously we're an hour show. We got to skip over a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
and so the same thing kind of went on today. So billionaires back then buying up newspapers,
Mm-hmm.
owning the media.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, Spanish American War, 1898. You had competition between William Pulitzer and William Randolph Hearst, Pulitzer of the Pulitzer Prize.
Yeah,
And they were looking for stories to foment and fuel the flames of a war with Spain for the purpose of territorial expansion, which did work. And of course, we talked. I don't know. We didn't really get into a whole lot of detail about the USS Maine conspiracy, and maybe that's another time. But that just fit right into their paradigm of.
their narrative.
Yeah, they wanted a war. In fact, one of the guys, I don't know if it was Stephen Crane who wrote the book Red Badge of Courage. He was down in Cuba as a war correspondent because he wrote that Civil War novel long after the Civil War was over. But he even said to William Randolph Hearst, "Look, there's not much going down here in Cuba. I'm down here right now, and there's not a whole lot going on." And William Randolph Hearst said to Stephen Crane, "You provide the stories, we will provide the war." And these guys were big pushers of a war with Spain for territorial expansion, which ran into the ideals of Teddy Roosevelt. Then we don't want to get off too much on that, but that's the
No,
driving
that
force.
that's the
Yeah,
yeah. Keep
the
going.
media, the New York Journal and the New York World were competing for headlines and for salacious stories.
And what
And
year was this?
this was 1898. I mean,
Right.
probably
So
late
yeah,
late 1897, 1898.
yeah.
It
So a
was
long
called
time ago.
yellow journalism. That's what they were doing. It was off white. It wasn't pure. It wasn't lily white facts. It was exorbitantly crafted stories for the purpose of a war, basically. Yes, and causing the background for a war,
Do you
which was the
remember
Spanish
who
American
owned
War.
those newspapers? Was it
What's
just
that?
government, or do you remember
No,
who
this
owned
was
those?
William Randolph Hearst. These are the rich guys you just talked
Yeah,
about,
the
and
billionaires.
Pulitzer. I'm sorry, Joseph Pulitzer, not William. It's William Randolph Hearst,
Pulitzer
Joseph
Prize.
Pulitzer, the Pulitzer Prize, much maligned prize now. I mean, they give it to, I don't know. We won't go there, but anyway, and that was 1898, and that's essentially one of the main causes of the Spanish American War was yellow journalism, the media uh, fanning the flames through the press to get people outraged and enlist. And it worked on your ancestors. You have a few that you're blood related to who answered the call and read the newspapers and went off and fought, in that war, Spanish American War. But the crazy step grandfather that I've already told you about, whom you're not related to, but kind of are. And then it was another one that was in the 16th Michigan, and they were a Rough Rider with Teddy Roosevelt, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, there you go.
Hey, freedom not force says, Mr. Joynt, let's get lit.
Oh, geez.
He gave you $5.
All
Freedom
right.
not force.
Okay.
Maximus gynecologist, thank you for your donation.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. So, like what you were just talking about, look what happens. The billionaires kind of control the newspapers,
Yeah.
right? This little
Yeah.
section down here,
Yeah.
right? They started a war.
Yeah. That's it.
Pulitzer and all those guys.
Mm-hmm. That's what I think of. And then the
Yeah,
media
that's
was
what I think of.
the media was
Well,
complicit.
the basis of the show is history repeats itself.
Yeah. And it
All
will
right,
do
and
that.
then you get into radio.
Yeah.
Remember that? Or what? Now, you were alive? I mean, Did you guys listen to radio or?
My sisters and brothers who just, they're a little bit older than me, 3.5 and 6.5 years older than me. They remember the radio. I was born in 48. Probably my earliest memory would be 1952, 51. And I remember television. We had a television by then. So I have very little, if a faint memory of just radio being the only means of communication. I remember TV. So, being a
Well, reach a
boomer.
broader audience.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
said
exactly.
radio waves through the air,
Yep,
so you didn't have to depend on people buying a newspaper and stuff like that. So this is
right.
more your time, right?
Well, I would say,
TV,
yeah, into the 50s. Yeah, that's Walter
Walter.
Cronkite. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
definitely. Um, Going back, like in the 1930 census on Lisa's family, one of the questions on the 1930 census is, "Do you own a radio?" And her I think, yeah, great great grandparents did. Her grandparents, okay, her great grandparents did. Her grandparents did not. They had to go and use the one two farms down in Iowa. So yeah, the radio was in the 30s. FDR's fireside chats, Franklin D. Roosevelt's fireside chats, were just listened to with his charismatic voice by tons of people. And we talked about the
we are
gold standard.
we
That's
are
how he,
not here to
yeah,
like
we have
yeah,
nothing to fear but fear itself, and that's
yeah.
how
We
he
have nothing
convinced.
to fear but fear
Yeah,
itself.
yeah, and he convinced tons of people to give up their gold for paper money because this is what the president's saying, and he's talking to us on a fireside chat, and all those kids are gathered. The whole family's gathered around the radio. That was it.
Yeah. Well, there was that Orson Welles piece where they were
Yes,
doing the War of the Worlds.
War of the Worlds. Yeah, people
And then
people
it
died,
created the
committed
chaos.
suicide.
Yeah, yeah, because they
Yep,
thought it was an alien
yep,
invasion.
yep.
So the power of the media, the power
Hmm.
of information
Yep.
I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
Like I said, when I was really getting into this week, it just kind of blew my mind how easily people just are manipulated.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. I'm probably guilty of that. I'm manipulated too.
well,
What's
we all are. You know,
Yeah. Sure.
it invokes a human emotion.
Yeah.
Um, and when you hear a story, and we'll get into what that does, but when it evokes a human emotion, it's just it in media nowadays is just so politicized, and
Yeah.
we'll get to that in a moment. But real quick, I just want to go over so media pluralism. This word right here.
Okay.
Uh, what that does is so when you have multiple sources, that's called media pluralism. Okay, so you want more sources of media. That's the goal.
Hmm.
You want people to be able to read and listen to every side. You don't just want one group or two groups or three groups of people talking because it, too much ideology and all that
Yeah.
stuff gets in the way. All
Right.
right. And that's kind of what media pluralism is. And so I just, real quick wanted to just discuss this because then that brings us into um, the next segment of our show,
All right.
which is, let me just get off of this. Boom, boom. Back on here. All right. I'm getting the new way they're doing things better. All right. So, like you said, TV kind of spoon feeds people. Without
Hmm.
media pluralism, you're just getting fed
Yeah.
one person, one billionaire, one
Yeah.
aspect. So if who owns the news, right?
Yeah.
Who owns it? You got to
Wow.
kind of think about that, right?
Yeah. Sure.
You were talking about Pulitzer and all those guys back then. Well, they died,
They're gone.
right? So somebody
Yep.
bought it,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
And then
Somebody
they
owns rights.
died,
Yep.
and then somebody else bought it, right?
Yep.
And it keeps going on and on and on until now today. So who owns all these news channels?
Yeah.
Well, here you go.
Yeah. There they are.
Uh,
You got Fox. I see Breitbart
Fox,
there.
CNN, Time
Yep.
Warner, Bezos of the Washington Post, Bloomberg of Bloomberg News. There's not many people. So you get rid of media pluralism. Okay.
Yeah.
Media pluralism is what you want. That's the ideal situation. Okay. You
There he
don't
is.
want Rupert Murdoch of Fox News owning all that. You don't want Bloomberg. You don't want Bezos. You don't want these guys owning all this stuff, because all you're going to get is just their version, whatever they want you to print. And most of their money is made from advertising. So, they're just going to say whatever the advertisers want them to say. Whoever's throwing in the big bucks. Now, what did we talk about last week? Was Big Pharma, right?
Big Pharma. Yeah, this is
big Pharma. And then we talked about Rockefeller. He was Big Oil. Those are the two biggest industries in the world. So what do you think they're going to, you think they're going to bite the hand that feeds them? You think they're going to say anything negative in the news or in the newspapers about who these guys really are?
And they own shares in each other's stuff. I saw that on a series here called Monopoly that was interesting. And these guys cross-reference their shareholdings, Berkshire Hathaway, etc.
Yeah.
It's only about
crazy.
Maybe a dozen.
It's crazy.
A dozen billionaires.
What they want to do is they want to make it look like there is media pluralism. They want to create different brands of media outlets.
Mm-hmm.
It's all owned by the same person, but they want to create different brands to make it look like there's variety, right? That hey, there's all these different opinions. But when you really look at it, and we'll get to this in a minute, there's less than 10 people that own all the media in the United States. Less than 10 people.
Wow.
So, and what they do is spin, right? So what is spin? You ever heard that term?
Sure.
You spin the story?
Yeah.
Right? It's one interpretation of the scenario or event is told.
That's why presidents have press secretaries.
Yeah, they spin everything.
Jen Psaki, whatever. I'll circle back to you. Sorry, that's what she says.
Well, spin is another form of propaganda.
Yeah. Yep.
It's persuading public opinion in favor or against some organization or public figure, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So that's what they've been doing. That's all they do. That's all they've been doing from the beginning. Even with religion, that's why I started with that, monk in the basement, typing in whatever, writing whatever.
Wow.
They wanted you to believe a certain religion, right?
Yeah.
So here we go. 6 corporations own all the media of the world, of the United States.
Yeah.
1,500 newspapers, 1,100 magazines, 9,000 radio shows, 1,500 TV stations, and 2,400 publishers.
Wow. Yeah.
So what does that tell you? There's some of them.
Tells me
now it looks like media pluralism, right? It looks like that word we looked up.
Yeah, it does, but it's not. Yeah.
But it's not. It's 6%.
Wow. It's like putting that into a wood chipper and you get six piles of wood at the end, all that stuff thrown in there. Goodness sakes. That's something when you see it like that.
Isn't that crazy?
It is. It is crazy.
Now, so what are these 6 what do you think these 6 people are? These 6 corporations?
Well, now we have our sponsor from Living Colored World is saying that didn't the Republicans create Fox? And technically, I don't think.
Well, we're not. We're not saying what we're saying is Fox is part of it, and I'll show you media's. We got media bias charts here in a minute,
and Teddy Roosevelt. Go back to the 1900. Go back to 1898. Teddy Roosevelt was a Republican pushing for war. It was It was the Democrats that were the ones that were anti-imperialists. The Republicans were pro-imperialists. Yeah, there's not a party thing here. Not so much.
It's not at all. No.
Yeah. Okay. She's confused, but that's all right. Question.
It's okay.
So
quick.
I don't know what they created. I don't know if Fox was technically created by.
Well, Fox is part of News Corp.
Yeah.
Okay. It's another billionaire corporation.
Yeah, sure. Rupert Murdoch.
They're getting all sorts of advertisements, So, I think I saw a thing I don't watch the news anymore, but I saw a thing Tucker Carlson did just recently, and everybody's bashing it. and it's about the insurrection and all that,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, they're like, well, why doesn't Fox News Corp fire him and all this stuff? It's like, well, that guy married the heir to the Swanson family.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sure.
Swanson dinners, they got
Yes.
billions of dollars. That
Yeah.
guy isn't worried about
Yeah.
ticking people off. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if he gets fired. So go ahead, fire him.
Those are good TV dinners, by the way, Swanson. I'll
Yeah,
give a
Swanson's is pretty good.
shout out, man. That's probably why I'm having.
Speaking of shout outs,
Yeah.
we got to
Yeah.
give a few more shout outs here real
Yeah.
quick. Admiral Rachel Levine's Bulge says, "Thank you, Mr. Joynt." Admiral
Jeez.
Rachel Levine's Bulge.
You're
Thank
gonna
you.
get banned. You don't know that's the Secretary of Health and Human Services, but go ahead. Jeez. All right, go ahead.
What am I saying?
Nothing. You're fine. You're just reading what they said.
This is the person's name.
Yeah. Well,
Admiral Rachel Levine's Bulge.
Okay.
That's their name.
Okay.
This is that is Halloween weekend.
Okay. Yeah, it is Halloween. Trick or treat.
Everybody is getting drunk right now. Like
they are, and you can tell they're logging in. So let's.
Yeah. We're getting more viewers here. Thank you, everybody.
We'll leave Rachel Levine alone.
Yeah, that would be a good costume.
Yeah. Well, she
dressed up as
former, I guess, secretary for Pennsylvania. I mean, does have a track record and
put on a women's suit with some medals, and then.
Yeah, let's go ahead. Go past it.
Okay, all right.
I tried to establish Rachel Levine and
fragile feeling finder. Thank you for your donation. Fragile feeling finder.
Holy crap! It's got to be the same person. But go ahead, continue.
No, it's not. These are Cash App people. I'm not making this up.
Yeah. Okay.
These are donations. Hey, you got that money, right? What did you do?
Yeah.
Did you go buy?
No, I didn't get any money yet, but that's okay.
I gave it to Lisa.
Okay, she's got it. She spent it.
Oh.
Probably bought Hallie some bananas.
Well, that's good.
Okay.
Hey, you work hard for your money. All right.
Yeah, okay.
So back to the story here.
Back to the media. Go.
All right, so 6 companies own all, like I showed you all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now we're gonna go. So what do they do? We talked about spin, right?
Yeah.
Spreading propaganda. All of them do it. If you lean right, if you lean left, if you're conservative, if you're progressive, there's always a bias. Okay, every news station, anything you want, any newspaper you read, you have to look at who owns it, and obviously it's not going to take you that long because there's only 6 corporations that own it all. But so what they do is they change the storyline. Right?
Okay.
They manipulate the storyline to fit a narrative, right?
Okay, sure.
Right? Okay, so here we go. Charts are down, money's down, everything's down, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be okay, guys. If we dig hard enough through this data, I'm sure we can find good news story we want to tell ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they don't go by the data. They want to change the way the story is presented. It's very simple. It's a very simple process. Everybody thinks it's so complicated. It's not. You just you just figure out a way to make this bad news look good, right? And so, but in the end, it's all propaganda. It's always propaganda. Everything you see in the newspapers, everything you see on the news is propaganda. These people aren't journalists, right? You think Anderson Cooper is a journalist? No. Who is he? He's what's her name's kid, right?
Yeah. Gloria Vanderbilt.
Yeah, he's a Vanderbilt kid.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The Fox people, the people on Fox, they all wear makeup.
Yeah.
They're all new. They're entertainment channels with a news theme. That's all it is.
Pretty soon, you and I are going to have makeup if we keep doing this. Not you, probably me. But go ahead.
Well, what kind of makeup would you use, Dad?
I don't know. Pancake number 14. Whatever that's called. I don't know. I just made it up. It is a form of makeup. But no, you're right. It's all for the show. I still remember Megyn Kelly one time. I thought I saw some eyeliner that she had. This is years ago. Bless her heart. It was askew and whatever. But I'm sure my guy liner would be askew as well. So with that, continue.
But the techniques for propaganda
Yes.
are all the same, right?
Yes,
So,
they are pretty much
uh,
emails and blogs, which can be manipulated
well,
just like
that's
news
the new
reports.
form,
Yeah,
right?
that
So there
is.
was
Yeah.
television, radio, movies,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
So back in the day when the movie screen was, you would before the movie started, you would get a government film, right, or something,
Hmm.
something
Hmm.
promoting something, government reports,
Right.
right? So, but the media, the news reports, I mean, look at it, media, news reports. Take out government reports,
Yeah.
movies, radio, television, emails, right?
Hmm. Right.
Like those are propaganda tools.
Yes.
So if you're a big government, what do you want to control?
Yeah.
You want to control those,
Those sources.
right?
Yeah.
So here we go. Here's I thought this was funny.
And you can hear them all repeat themselves, the talking points.
Oh, we're getting
You
into
know,
that.
build back better. You
Yeah.
hear
Oh yeah.
Klaus
Yeah.
Schwab of the World Economic Forum. You hear,
Yeah.
Joe Biden's made it his motto of his presidency. I mean, to make the motto of your presidency a slogan made up by a civilian head of the World Economic Forum, which you talked about all those conglomerates of billionaires who are flying thousands of private jets to Davos, Switzerland to talk to us about climate change. They're putting so much carbon footprint out there. It's amazing so that they can, enforce climate lockdowns and climate change that allegedly is coming, climate, whatever.
Well, even
Um,
not today. I mean, it's been
yeah,
going on for. I mean,
man.
go back to Nixon. Go
Yeah,
back to Reagan. I mean,
yeah.
if you want to talk Republicans, they're just as dirty
Nixon's Interior Secretary Casper Weinberger said that we would have to. He was actually the Secretary of State. I forget who the Interior guy was under Nixon, but he said, because of the energy shortage, which was BS, you're probably not going to be able to have a hot shower in the future. He said that in
yeah.
1970. And I'm thinking, you're full of crap because they had just discovered all that stuff in South Dakota, all those oil reserves, which were rediscovered. And now we know we have that stuff, hence the Keystone Pipeline. And we could go off on that tangent. We won't. But the media ignores that. They ignore the implications of the Keystone Pipeline being cut. And climate change is a mathematical formula. I'm not saying that climate change is not real. It's a mathematical formula. Depending what variables you put in there, will determine the outcome of the environment. Yeah, I agree. And but it's
Well,
not.
let me ask you something.
Yeah, it's not us. We're not doing it. China's doing it. Go look at a.
How is carbon bad for the environment?
Well, nothing, and we now have technology to suck carbon out. We have stuff that can take
Yeah,
carbon.
I'm heavily
Yeah.
invested in stocks that do
Yes.
that.
Yes. And that's the
Fuel
future.
cell energy.
Okay, fuel cell. I heard about that. Yeah, I heard you told me
Yeah,
about that as well. Um,
they take emissions from
yes, they can take it
refineries,
out. They can take it out. They can
and
take
they
carbon
take it
out.
out,
We
and
don't
then they
need any
turn
more.
it into a chemical reaction that
Yes.
produces electricity.
And so now the fuel cell, the whole fossil fuel argument is technically obsolete. But yeah, so you're not going to hear that in what you have up here right now, the U.S. media. They will not talk about that. They will just put climate change. I'm listening
Right.
to a radio station on the way to and from work because they play 80s music, which I like a lot. Sorry. I like the oldies, but I like, for some reason, 80s appeals to me. And anyway, what what really gets me is that they'll say, well, we're here to give you all the news, including climate change. And I want to just call the station and say, why? What is it? You're being told to say this. And they are. They all say the same thing. And when it gets to news, it's the same stuff. Nothing new. Talking points, I guess it's called. I don't want to get too far off track, but go ahead. Go back to
Well,
wherever
no,
you're
that's
going. Yeah.
exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
That's what this cartoon is about.
Okay.
If you look at
Yep.
the background, it's the U.S. media. Tonight's panel discussion about labor issues. And who do they have up there as their labor experts? Is Walmart, Nike, GM. Okay, and then
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
that's
Nike.
it. It's a echo chamber, right?
Nike and the NBA. Wow.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
something. Well,
Talking about labor relations, yeah, with
yeah.
slave labor and all that.
China.
And then what I thought was really funny about this cartoon is the upcoming shows, right? Captains of Industry explain environmentalism, right?
Yeah.
So the oil industry is talking about
Yeah.
environmentalism.
Yeah.
U.S. Army generals hold forth on peace. Yeah.
Yes.
The military
Peace.
complex makes money
Oh,
on war, so why would they
that's
talk about
scary.
peace? Men
Scary
talk
stuff.
about women's reproductive rights, right? Yeah,
Oh,
that's
geez.
white people comment on race relations. Yeah,
Yeah.
if you don't want to hear our
Wow.
foxes discuss guarding hen houses.
Yeah. Wow.
All right, real quick, we got another donation here. Innocent Fauci Beagle, thank you, Innocent Fauci Beagle.
Yes.
And Alec Baldwin's gun safety coordinator or instructor, Alec Baldwin's gun safety instructor, thank you. So Alec Baldwin's gun safety instructor donated to the show.
And again, the sponsor, Living Color World, makes an excellent point about Reagan and Rupert Murdoch.
There you go. Talk about that.
Yeah, he's Australian, and he's allowed to come in and own news media outlets. And if you follow what's happening in Australia right now, I mean, it's regular.
There you go. There's the chat right there. What
yeah, there it is. Wow. Yep. Okay. We'll have to read all this. I'll digest all this later, but Living Color World's on the right.
Hey, see what happens when you live chat people?
Yeah, sure.
Post it on the show.
Yeah, Living Color World, man. They're on it. Roger Ailes. Yep. Was Nixon's. That's right. Yep.
You want to read
and Henry Kissinger, Nixon's Secretary of State, once said this, a Living Color World sponsor. This is what Nixon said. It doesn't matter who wins. It doesn't matter if it's Republican or Democrat. And he was a member of the Council on Foreign Relations, the Rockefeller Group. He said, as long as it's under the same umbrella, which, you're right with Nixon. Anyway, I always tell my friends who are independents or Democrats, my first vote in 1972, my first time I could vote, because 21 years, okay, sorry, I'm not supposed to say that.
No.
I voted. I'll just say I voted.
My camera is out of focus. Hold on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, all right. Thank you. Let's continue.
This is what you have to do.
Okay, wow. I'm probably out of focus too, but that could be a good thing. Sorry.
No, it's back, I think.
I have a slight starburst coming off my forehead, but go ahead. Continue. That's all right. Forget Nixon. Go.
Media bias chart. No, that's a great segue into this.
Yes.
Okay, so if you look at this chart, right?
Yes.
So the L's are left, C is central, right is right. So think left wing, right wing.
Yeah.
Okay. And look at how everybody. This is in 2021. Okay.
Yeah.
This is, look at the chart. So if you're, and what's crazy about this is when I go on Facebook,
Newsmax. I see Newsmax there. Go ahead. Go.
Yeah. When I go on Facebook and Twitter, and what's really interesting about this, and this is what kind of grabbed my attention, is that when I'm on my friends' different pages and I see their posts and stuff, I can literally go back to this chart almost to to wherever they are on the political spectrum. Okay.
Yeah.
And I can see where they are politically.
Yeah.
Okay. So if they're discussing financial stuff, if they're discussing medical issues, if they're discussing all sorts of different things, I can kind of see who they're regurgitating information from. And it's crazy that it's gotten so compartmentalized. Like we talked about media pluralism, right? That's a big problem.
Yeah.
Because only 6 companies own all these stations.
Wow.
Right? That's 1% of the population. Like that's the 1%.
Yeah.
So if I see a Facebook, quote or whatever, I can literally go back and find it on and I can find it on one of these news channels, right? And I can say, okay, that person's a left or that person's a right. You know what I mean? And that I just thought this was so interesting.
It is. Wow.
How you can just kind of group all these stations and what they talk about.
Yeah, sure.
And it is literally like this. It's like this cartoon right here. They watch it. it goes through this little, they spin cycle it, whatever, and then the person just believes it to be truth, and it's
Yeah.
not. It's somebody's version of the truth.
Yeah.
All right, here's an example, and I'm just using a Fox News channel, which is right wing, okay,
Yeah.
versus a bunch of left wing
Yeah.
medias. Now, Fox is outnumbered 3-1. Okay, so Democrat left wing media
Yeah.
outnumbers right wing media 3-1. Okay,
Hmm.
that's the statistic. That's the
Yeah.
law. You can go look it up, people. You
Yeah.
can
Sure.
you can fact check me. That's fine. But if you look here, all three headlines are the same. This
Yeah.
was Scott Walker shouted down over GIP attempt to weaken his message. Okay, so you had the State, Star Tribune, Herald Dispatch, all with the same headline. Fox News says Wisconsin protesters drown out Christmas tree lighting ceremony, challenging lame duck session.
Hmm.
Okay, it all deals with the same problem that happened. Now, I don't have time to bring up everything, every example that this
Yeah.
happens in. But this is what happens, okay? And so you look at this chart right here. All right. Republicans trust in one source, Fox News, far more than any, okay? All right, so they trust Fox News. If you look at Republicans lean the
Hmm.
65%. And then all the Democrats watch CNN, right?
Yeah. Yeah. They sure
Okay.
do.
And then the least trust, okay, right? It's the opposite.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Right? So at
Wow.
the bottom here, CNN.
Yeah.
Republicans don't watch CNN at all. But the
No.
Democrats, all they watch is CNN,
Yeah.
right? Then the yellow.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? I thought that was
And
interesting. And so,
some of the Republicans will say that CNN stands for Communist News Network. I've
well,
heard
you
that
used
too.
to call the
Yeah, I used
Sun
to hear that.
Sentinel down in South Florida. What did you used to call the Sun
The
Sentinel?
Soviet Sun Sentinel,
Soviet Sun Sentinel.
and
Right.
Fox News was called fake news by the other side. So sure, yeah, they're all polarized, no question.
Well, let's talk a big event that happened here recently, and we're not going to take sides because I feel this is more of a centrist show.
Yeah,
Okay. Um, but we had a problem at the Capitol in January, right?
yeah,
Election
January
issues.
6th.
Okay. So the day after, right? The day after, this is January 7th, right? The day after, what was all over the news? This is before one investigation. This
Yeah,
is before any video came out.
yeah,
This is before any eyewitness accounts. What happened? Look at what happened all
yeah,
over the media. They already called it an insurrection, under
yeah,
siege, under attack,
yeah,
right? And what has come out since then?
yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
I'm not defending what happened at the
No.
Capitol. Okay. I'm not saying that these people had a right to, some of them had a right to do what they did. That it's disgusting what they did. I would never, even if I was there, which I wasn't,
Mm,
but even if I was there, I would have been like, hey man, y'all can't break windows. You can't go
no.
in there. You can't desecrate the place. That's wrong.
No.
That's our government. Okay. I don't care how mad you are.
Hmm.
But obviously there were some other issues. There's video of feds there. There's video of people taking down the
Yeah.
fences. There's video of the police officers letting them in.
Yep.
Okay. So, but before any of that evidence came out, with months later now, here we are
Yeah.
in, you know, almost
Yeah.
November, and this
Yeah.
happened 10 months ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now everything's coming out. But the very next day, so if you're a journalist, right? If you're a true journalist, what are you going to do? You're going to go get
Investigate.
all the information. You're going to
Yeah.
investigate. And here's what happens. And here's kind of where big tech is going to kind of play into this. We're going to
Hmm.
move over from media to big tech right here. And we're going to spend about 10 minutes on big tech. But here's what happens. Okay. A journalist will come in, a real journalist will go into one of these news outlets and they'll say, hey, listen, I got a team of about 3 people. Okay, we need to be paid about $50,000 a year. Okay, it's going to take us a year to investigate everything that happened on January 6th, right? And we're going to give you this nice report, right? And
Hmm.
the president of media, or the guy at the news station, is going to be like, okay, $50,000, $150,000. That's a lot of money. I'm not going to see a return for at least 10 months. So I don't know. I got to think about it. And then a guy walks in, right? Some social media guy that recorded something bad on his phone and it got a million hits on social media. It got a million hits, right? And he'll go into the same news channel's office and say, "Hey, I got a million hits on this video." And the news channel will be like, "Okay, we're gonna buy it. Here's $1,000." Right? So that's what they do. That's what they do.
Wow.
And then they get to write all these news stories about it,
Yeah.
right? And so this is kind of what happens, and this is where I get to with people who are in the center, like I am. I believe both sides. I think that there's multiple sides to every story. I just want the truth. I don't care. I don't want the spin. I don't want your propaganda. I just want the truth. Okay. So I stop watching news because I go look for the truth. And then what happens to people like me? Okay. Either one side or the other is going to kind of push me into the other side. The other side is going to be like, hey, everything okay? And then I'm going to get blamed for being, so just posting that insurrection slide, right? What's going to happen? They're going to say, "Hey, you're with the other side." No, I'm not, and I'm just trying to do that so I don't get banned. And then what happens, right? People believe this stuff.
Yeah. I like the guy in the mask. That's pretty funny.
Yeah. They've been fear-mongered, right?
Yeah.
Fear-mongered into thinking that people who go outside and live their lives are now what? Trump supporting or insurrectionist or right?
Even Anthony Fauci said in 2019, we now know, he's on tape and a video recording saying this, that if you wear a mask, we don't need to have masks in 2019 for any supposedly future pandemic, because that's a paranoid tool. Even Fauci said that, and I agree with him. Masks are a paranoid tool. They really...
Yeah, but who took over the narrative?
Well, it's, even though we have a study in August of 2020, over a year ago, that says the masks are inconclusive in the stopping of COVID. It's inconclusive whether they will or not. And Fauci saying it's a paranoid tool. Okay, if it's inconclusive now, it is a paranoid tool.
Yeah,
students
but
that are
again,
fearful.
part of the show is the kind. We did break pharma last week.
We did.
And now we're showing propaganda tools this week.
Right.
Okay,
right.
so people can make the correlation of how they all work together. Right. So before the internet, what did you have to do? You had to go to a library and you had to look through thousands and thousands of newspapers. They did microfilm and film in the 70s, right, and all that. They created microfilm, but you used to have to do that. But then the internet came around, the computer, and then the social media pages and all that. This is kind of just a timeline real quick.
Yep, sure.
Yahoo was 2006. Twitter was 2006. Facebook, which is the biggest one, 2004. MySpace, which was a preliminary to Facebook. I remember using MySpace for the restaurant I had.
Wow. Okay.
And we were doing billboards and advertising in magazines and the Tallahassee Democrat.
Yeah.
And my the guy, one of the business partners that I had who owned the bar or who was running the bar was like, "Oh no, we're doing social media." And I'm like, "What the social media? Like, what is that going to do?" But that's what the college kids were using. Okay.
Yeah.
But what happens is all your information now is through what? Your internet. Okay.
Yeah.
And the same practices that the government used before, like you were saying, how to start a war, all that, they're going to spy on what you want to watch because they want to know. They want to know if their propaganda is working. Okay. And what do we have now? So instead of the Times Square, instead of the printing press, instead of buying a magazine or, whatever, everything is on your phone.
Yeah.
Everything is on your phone. You're carrying your phone around with you everywhere. So if you thought information was powerful before with just using paper, imagine what it is now, right?
Yeah.
Because you have your phone with you all the time.
Well, Jimmy Fallon said that with Facebook changing their name to Meta, he said that's really appropriate because for him, Facebook is where he met a lot of crazy people.
Yeah.
There you go. I had to throw that Jimmy Fallon quote in there.
Yeah.
So
this is what I do. I read.
Yeah. You do.
I read books.
Yep.
I read
Sure.
article. I don't read. I don't watch I don't watch the news anymore. I don't even
Right.
watch Tucker Carlson. Hate
Okay.
to say it.
Well, all right.
But social media, what
Mhm.
happens? So who's getting censored right now? Republicans, right?
Yeah. Looks
So
like it.
Republicans think that social media is bad, and look what Democrats think social media is good
Yeah.
because they're not being censored.
Jeez. Yeah. That's interesting. Wow. Yeah.
I
Wow.
mean, just look at the numbers.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's amazing. Yep. That's where we're at.
Leading
From
left, they think it's negative 78%. Democrats think it's only 53%.
history repeats itself. Pulitzer and Hearst are still with us. Their ghosts haunt us on this Halloween Eve.
Yes, yes, there you go, Dad. I was glad you said that.
Hmm.
And so, but just like any newspaper and any media outlet, what is always their biggest bread and butter? It's advertising, right?
Yep.
So if you're an oil company or you're a pharmaceutical company or you're a politician or you're a government official, what are you going to spend your money on? Right?
Yes.
Advertising yourself, advertising your product, advertising your company.
Living Color World for Christmas gifts this Christmas.
Yes,
There it
yes.
is.
Well, then we're doing our own. That's what we do here, social
That's
media.
it.
You want to
Check it out.
avoid uh, not getting any nookie.
Jeez.
You
Oh, jeez.
you want a warm
Meta.
winter.
Meta. Met a lot of crazy people. Go
All
ahead.
right, look at this. We're right under our hour. Look
There
at
he
that.
is. There he is.
Zuckerberg, Caesar Zuckerberg.
Caesar Zuckerberg. Wow. Man. There he is. Smart guy. He's razor sharp smart. There's no question.
Harvard grad,
Harvard. Yes. Harvard. Okay. Living Color World is sending out tons of memes here for Zuckerberg. Okay.
All
There
right,
you
so
go.
real quick
Hmm.
takeaway. We'll go over one more thing here. Oh, sorry.
Go.
This stupid.
9 o'clock.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
hungry. I got to eat.
All right. Yep.
I got to put on my costume.
Okay. I'm going to dress up like a teacher and scare kids. That's
Yeah.
what I did.
Real
No,
quick.
I wore
Real
an
quick.
FCAT. I wore an FCAT shirt to school and scared a lot of kids.
I wanted to
But,
talk about this. Speaking of social media, this is kind of where I wanted to end this show.
okay, good. Yes.
All right, so Ice Cube. Do you know who Ice Cube is?
Yes, I do. Yes.
All right, he was one of my favorite rap artists. NWA, movies, Friday. I love this guy.
Yeah.
So he just gave up a movie deal for $9 million because he won't take the vaccine.
Wow.
And so guess what social media did to him today?
Yeah, they trashed him.
The Twitter mob is just jumping all over him. And if you read these tweets, he was trending today on Twitter. They're just saying he's an idiot, he's a dumbass, he's a stupid F.
Yep.
I mean,
but he's alive. He's alive.
All over the place. They're comparing him to Kyrie Irving. He's a selfish SOB. And I mean, it is just, I mean, look, I'm just scrolling through this.
Gee whiz.
And you can see just how they're just, every article, every media outlet right now is bashing him.
Yeah.
Because he's not taking an experimental medication. So I just want people to see how quick. I mean, this came out last night.
Yeah.
And this was all day today. Everybody is just bashing Ice Cube. And Ice Cube's a nice guy.
Yeah, he is.
And he gave up a $9 million deal for this. Look,
but he wants to live.
On and on and on and on and on. It's just crazy. It's the Twitter mob.
I just want to add that I hope that Vanilla Ice doesn't fall under pressure. Okay, go ahead.
What does that mean?
Isn't that what Vanilla Ice sang? Was it Under Pressure?
No,
Under
that
pressure.
was
who was it?
That was the song he ripped off. That was David Bowie.
Okay, but he ripped it off. Okay,
he stole it. He ripped off the tune.
Okay, all right.
It was Ice Ice Baby.
Ice Ice Baby. Okay, right. Under Pressure, David Bowie. Okay, I'm totally lost in the early 90s. My bad. What a way to end the show. Go ahead.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm under pressure.
Yeah. Well, you need to go release your
I don't
prostate.
know. No, I'm fine.
All right. You
Okay,
sure?
Living World. Yes, Living
All right.
World color.
Yes, everybody. Do your shopping now. Don't
Yes.
wait till the last minute. You're going to have a cold winter.
Jeez.
All right, Dad. I love you.
Love you too.
Hey, episode 10. Happy episode 10.
Yeah, happy episode 10. We'll thirdly SWAT show. That'll be good.
Yeah.
Well, I
We'll
have
do
some
two or
students.
three.
I have some students. They heard what we do.
Give a
And,
shout out to your students.
oh man, all you guys.
Oh, wait. I got one more.
Seventh hour Psych 1. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Seventh hour
Congrats.
snack.
Thank you. Yeah, they're great kids.
One last shout out. We got one more donation. Sniffer in Chief. Thank you, Sniffer in Chief. We appreciate your donation. The Sniffer in Chief.
Jeez. Oh, great.
You got to love the world we live in, man.
Yes, we do.
Get out. Go live your life. Go get on the costume.
Go live your life.
Go live your life.
The birds are chirping in the morning. That's right.
They're all chirping. All right, Dad.
Chirping.
Love you.
Love you too. See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching Mr. Joynt Live. We appreciate you being here with us again on our Friday night. We will be here next week, and we will see you all then. Good night. Have a safe holiday weekend.